folks, welcome to the show. That ending of that intro clip didn't quite land. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Maybe we'll have to redo it. It is all good. Welcome to Counter Clipping show number 153 for November 18th, 2023. And we're going to talk Wargaming 2023 in review this year. And I've got a pretty decent list, but not an exhaustive one of games that came out in 2023 to talk about. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. As a reminder, this will be the final Counter Clipping show of 2023. I will take next week off of everything if possible. And we'll have some scheduled videos, hopefully, but there won't be any live shows next week. And we will be back on January, I think it's the 1st, actually. Is that Monday the 1st? That is Monday, New Year's Day evening. We will do that. Hopefully everyone will recover from their hangovers or crushing college football defeats by then. So before we get started, let's say that we are clipping Strike Counter-Strike. That is the GTS magazine game that came out. I think it was in 2023. We guess we'll find out in a minute. And we are drinking Basil Hayden's again. We're going to drink this till it's gone because it's not as good as, you know what? It's a perfectly good bourbon. It's just not quite good enough to drink neat out of a Glencairn. So today we are drinking it on the rocks. Perhaps we will come up with an invigorating cocktail to drink it from next week. So, or 2 weeks from now. So, all right. So before we get any further into the show, let's remind everybody to like the video. Let me put the banner up. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Big shout out to patrons of Ardwulf's Lair. This week we have Ariadne and Adam MC. Thank you for joining at the swordsman level. They're both shouted out in the ticker as well, which I remembered to turn on. There was also a link to the Ardwulf's Lair Discord community in the ticker, so check that out as well. If you'd like to help support the channel, there's a bunch of links to do that in the video description. And if you've read ahead and done the homework, you might notice something new, and we'll talk about that tonight as well. That is the mysterious, not really major, but important to me, channel announcement that we have later on tonight. 127 people here already. So before we get any further, let's say hello to Alistair Logie, Bianca Salis, sorry, Bianca. Bud Keegan, Chad Kennedy, Charles Latour, Cyber Field Marshal, Daniel McCord, Daniel Silverthorne, Dicey Odds, Ed Holtzman, Eric Goebel, Eric Schaefer, Gregory Campagna. That name I know how to pronounce. HUN644 New, the legend himself. Fucko is in the house. Jason W., Jeff Anderson, Jeffrey Wesovich, Jerry Snitzelar, Joe Faust from sunny Northeast Ohio. We got decent snow for the first time this year here in Northeast Ohio today. Joe Okabayashi, Joe Perez, John Mogg, John Madison, John Stanley, John C. from the sunny Philippines. Jonathan K., John Clark, Carl Creeder from the Wargame Boot Camp, Kyle Harris, Lee Grant Manders, Mark McNair, Mr. Mark Herman is here. Mark, thanks for stopping by as always. Mark Hodgkinson, Meandering Mike, Michael Sherman, Molotov Cockatiel Games, where I'm actually not bad at reading these names off really fast, but I do occasionally joke. Patrick of Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials, Paul O'Farrell, Perry Sparopoulos, Ray Musselman, Rob Johnson, Roger Hemsath, Rudy Armendara, Scott Rowland, Sofa King, Stacking Limit is here. Stephen Roberts Stigler is in the house. Tom Borman, Tim Greenhaw, Todd Cox, Tony Mammal, Vicky, welcome back to the show. William Bird and Wolf Dog. And I apologize to anybody that YouTube has left off the list. So that was actually a big list. That's probably what the problem was there. All right, so we are literally just now getting started clipping this guy. Strike Counter-Strike, it looks pretty good. And it is the long-awaited GTS magazine game. And we'll talk about long-awaited stuff. We're going to kind of step through a bunch of the stuff that came out this year, as well as, you know, some things that happened this year as those subjects come up as part of the conversation. I think the bourbon's hitting me because I'm sweating profusely already. Stacking Limit, you were definitely missed by YouTube. I agree. So anyway, I don't know what is up with the thumbs count, by the way. So I don't know what's up with that. I didn't do the promotions on the channel. So we had a really success. I guess I'll talk about that first. We had like a real successful year here at the channel. I am nothing less than 100% pleased at, you know, the responses that we've got on everything. I'm less pleased than that of the stuff that, you know, about the stuff that I didn't get done this year that I wanted to get done. there's still a chance, although I have Christmas projects in the way now, that I will have the Frederick the Great video for next week. That would be fantastic. Mark McNair had to quit drinking because of medication. That sucks, but I drink. I talk a lot about drinking. I don't actually drink that much. When was the last time I had a drink that was not on this show? Oh, that would have been on a show with Dan. But other than that, I can't think of a time in the last few months where I've had a drink not on this show. And you guys see how much I drink here. I liked when I was making martinis. I liked good martini. I was perfectly happy drinking either a gin or a vodka martini, although that was back in the days when I was drinking less responsibly. Let me put it that way. This is bulge season, as you know. Every year I think about it 3 months in advance of getting a Market Garden game started on Market Garden Day, or a Bulge game started on Bulge Day, or a Waterloo game started on Waterloo Day. And none of those things has ever occurred. The closest thing that we managed is to do Gettysburg show on one of the 3 days of Gettysburg. So I don't like, let me highlight this because I'm going to talk about this very briefly. I actually understand that, right? I mean, there's a certain social lubrication factor that maybe is less valuable to us as we get older. And also, I don't like to feel like I'm off, right? I'd rather not feel off. That's the best way I can put it. I don't mean drunk. I just mean off, and I can enjoy a modest amount of alcohol without feeling off. On rare occasions, I will have a little bit more than that, but generally that does not occur. So anyway, for those awaiting Charles S. Roberts Awards news, there will be some news released in a press release later in the week. We are firming up some things. That is all I am going to say about that this evening. Although I guess I can mention, since somebody mentioned it in their own live show, that we're putting together the nominating committee for the 2023 awards for games released in 2023. And once that is firm, we will make that announcement along with other announcements at that time, and that should be along fairly shortly. So anyway. All right. Alistair Logie had his last drink a whole lot of days ago. All his cocktails made with fake stuff. They have actual, I don't want to call them spirits, but they have things you are supposed to make cocktails with that don't contain alcohol and are supposed to have flavor profiles that make interesting cocktails, I guess. I don't remember any brand names. I'll only highlight this. The Armchair Dragoons digital convention is coming up in January. Brant, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is MLK weekend. Event submissions are open. So you can sit in the comfort of your home or in the attire of your choice and play digital war games at the Armchair Dragoons digital event. So the World War II Frontline, I have not had a chance to watch that. I haven't had a chance to watch very much this year at all. We're lucky I got to see Napoleon. You're lucky I went to go see Napoleon, so you didn't have to. I am unfortunate for having to go and see Napoleon. So there's a whole bunch of show ideas that I have for next year, and I'm not really going to talk about some of those because some of those, frankly, require further thought, more thought than I put into them so far. But rest assured, there will not be a shortage of shows for show topics for next year. So this Thursday, I'm hoping to have an RPG video released on hopefully tomorrow, but maybe Wednesday. There will be a show with Dan on Thursday featuring Mr. Mark Herman. We're going to talk about end of year stuff. Plus, Mark has written a book, and we're very interested to hear more about that. So here's Brand's actual dates. You can go check all that out at armchairdragoons.com. There's a link to the calendar in the video description. And that will take you to their webpage. Yeah, see, this is great. So I was able to take 3 days off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week, and have consequently, I don't know, 9 days off in a row. So I'm happy with that because I don't have to work until the 2nd. So best Twitter guy, we could we could, you know what, Pete, if it was up to me, you would probably have won that award, but there isn't an award for that. So at some point, I'll say without, I guess I'm revealing in so saying, at some point, the CSR awards will need to deal with digital content. You can take the hint from me saying it that way, that will not happen this year. But aside from that, we're on target as far as timetable goes. We got a lot to get done this week, but we're on target. This was the targeted week. So excellent. Wolf Doug has made it through 3 turns of Deadly Woods last weekend before determining his allied strategy was not good. Well, hey, at least you didn't get through 30 turns. Are they daily turns in Deadly Woods? I haven't not looked closely at Deadly Woods. It's 3 turns. I mean, I don't know when it ends either. That's a good question. So I hope we're not freezing. Everything, I mean, I can't really tell on my side without going over to the YouTube display screen, and I don't see any problem here. So I think we're okay. 170 people watching. Holy cow. At some point this year, it's on my mission list to get GTS back to the table. There will be GTS on tables at Winterfest, but I will be playing World in Flames instead. I am not 100% sure. Oop, it does not. It does not go with these counters. There was a weird sound. Okay, I don't know. Hopefully it will repair itself. So I don't think I have video settings bungled up in any way. Not so much, no. I mean, I've had worse internet providers than Spectrum, but it ain't that great. So let me know if it continues to happen. I can live with a little bit of lag. That could be just a lag spike. I could also run a speed test and see what comes back with that. Downstream bandwidth is not a problem. The audio is more important. We are absolutely taking a shit on upstream bandwidth. That's going to be why. Let me make a settings change. Let's see if I can change this on the fly. Let's see if that makes any difference. I just changed something. Now, of course, the that will lower resolution to 720p. So that's about all I have the ability to do in StreamYard. So hopefully that might fix it. It does look like upstream bandwidth has recovered somewhat. So you should have been able to see that. All right. So I will remind everyone that super chats and super stickers are on. So if you want to get your comment highlighted, a great way to do that is to throw it in a super chat or super sticker so that I don't miss it. I might not get to it instantly, but I will get to it sooner or later. So that support is much appreciated as well. There's like a whole bunch of things. I'll talk more about this in the next show, which will be 2 weeks from tonight, which will be the, what's ahead in 2024 show. I'll talk more about some of the channel things that I want to do, and how you can help. Let me put it that way. So everybody says it did help. So thank you. All right, so let's talk. Let's get into 2023 in Wargames, and I do have. Let me throw this away. I do have a screen share for this from our good friends at Board Game Geek. All right, so let me also though go here. All right, that'll be a little bit better. All right, Fall of Tobruk. This came out. This is from Compass. This is now I'm going by BGG dates here. So if something messes up in terms of a game that was not released in 2023 that I somehow missed, just say so in the chat and we'll try and fix it. I actually want another goal here, Perfidious Albion, for me is, and we'll talk more about goals next week. 2 weeks from now, but is to play some more ASL in 2024. So hopefully that will actually happen. That'd be cool. All right, Mr. Brand, thank you so much. The support is much appreciated. He is supporting. Great, you're on a great show. That is also appreciated. I'm not sure which show you believe you were watching, but thanks. So it is weird that I don't know, weird is not quite the right word, but it feels. I am amazed every time I think that right now it is Monday night in December, and I'm sitting here in a basement in Northeast Ohio talking for 2 hours about war games and clipping counters at the same time, and there's 172 people watching. So thank you for being one of those 172 people watching. That is meaningful, and it is supporting the channel. So, Meandering Mike, oh, I know it's out because I saw it at Compass Expo. I didn't pick it up. So this is originally a Frank Chadwick design. This one's a little bit of an oddball, actually. So this is not a designer signature edition, I don't think. This is a redesign of the Frank Chadwick original by Chris Fawcett. Now, the Frank Chadwick original was from Conflict Games. That was John Hill's company that merged or was bought by or something with Game Designers Workshop back in the mid 70s. I don't know what the actual arrangement was there, but I know a number of Conflict Games things moved over to GDW, including Imperium, actually. It didn't seem super duper icy, and I'm not sure it's going to stick, so I don't know, but it's not that bad right now. And we're in the secondary snow belt, so we probably got more snow than the folks up on the east. East will actually get a little more snow. Mark Herman says he counted, and there were about 120 war games published, so more than 2 per week. Amazing. Yeah, I don't know that BGGs. I pulled some data to come up with some of mine, and I think I need to pull some more because I'm not convinced in the solidity of BGG's system for classifying those games. Let me put it that way. Tony Mammal says with Hasbro taking a dump of late, any chance we might see of some of its holdings sold off for reprinting? What do you mean of late? They've been there was a stockholder effort. I forget whether this was in 2023 or 2022. Maybe it was even 2021. There was a sort of an activist shareholders thing happening that wanted Hasbro to spin off Wizards of the Coast into its own company. Wizards of the Coast, as a division of Hasbro, did extremely well last year. That did not save them from Hasbro laying off basically everybody. There's like hardly anybody left at Wizards of the Coast. There's some executives, and that's basically it. All the creative people are fired. For those who haven't heard, this is despite the fact that Magic the Gathering had a very strong year. D&D had a very strong year. The D&D movie was not so much a part of that, but a little bit of brand building there. And a D&D video game, Baldur's Gate 3, is Game of the Year. So none of that helped the people that worked at Wizards of the Coast, some of them for some years, and who did a lot of creative work, in some cases on Baldur's Gate 3, from getting pink slips right in time for Christmas. Merry Christmas, love Hasbro. So this kind of fuckery is the kind of thing that Hasbro has been engaged in for a long time. And I don't know, although that sounds like I'm harshly condemning Hasbro, and I am, but at the same time, this behavior on the part of money-seeking corporations is expected behavior on the part of money-seeking corporations. It's a corporate, it's a business environment that incentivizes short-term profits and what's the word I'm looking for? Parasitism by highly paid executives, all of whom suck many millions of dollars out of the company. And that is not really that old of a phenomenon. It's something that's kind of popped up or emerged or evolved in the last few decades of economic development here in the United States. Chad Kennedy, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. That is very much appreciated. That's huge, actually, and we'll go a long way toward meeting some of those goals that I'm going to talk about next week that I want to get done for the channel. I've talked about one already, and that's an actual video camera. I've been doing this long enough. I ought to have an actual video camera, for Pete's sake, and not have to keep using my phone and webcams and all this other bullshit. But they're relatively expensive. I need a new tripod to go with it. Frankly, I need some better lights. I've got a whole shopping list. I'll cover it later. So, Mander says that Hasbro has been a malfunctioning sewage plant for some time. Yeah, okay. Molotov Cocktail says that then releasing a bunch of new stuff was pretty bad. I mean, don't forget the pants shitting that was done by Hasbro earlier in the year with the whole Wizards of the Coast D&D OGL thing, right? Which didn't, it sparked some conversations inside Wargaming, but didn't directly affect Wargaming because nobody in Wargaming is really like beholden to an OGL, where a nice chunk of the RPG market is beholden to that OGL. So, Chad Kennedy has loved OCS Smolensk. That is great. Mark says Studiolo Designs has kept the same staff, which is great when it happens. Hasbro not known for that kind of foresight, however. This is actually quite a good call. OCS Smolensk and then compare it to Panzer Group Guderian. I mean, obviously they're vastly different games to say the least. But I think it's probably not ridiculous to say that that Panzer Group Guderian is a hugely influential game and probably had some influence on the formation of OCS. Holy cow, Vince Ree, thank you so much. Much appreciated. The support is going crazy here tonight, actually. So that is all much appreciated. So it says, thank you for your efforts in 2023. Looking forward to next year. Me too. You know, this was a challenging year in a number of ways for reasons I haven't talked about on the channel. Let me put it that way. So, you know, it was a challenging year in a number of ways. I don't want to say more about it than that. Nordic Maelstrom. Yeah, so a dude at Wizards of the Coast basically said this, yes. That I don't think that's really a mischaracterization of what was actually said to the best of my recollection. And there's no way for that to read correctly. I think everybody would agree, would like to see more people playing these kinds of games, and I would like to see all the people of all the different colors and creeds play these kinds of games. I don't think that punching self-in-face statements of this kind are helpful, however. And I forget who that was that said that, but it was somebody that was on the D&D team in an interview. It is just like, oh, what are you dumb? Why would you say something like this? Shareholder capitalism, as Joseph Syverson mentions, prioritization of stock value or functionality or consumer satisfaction. Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't matter if the company goes under, right? That they're sacrificing long-term viability in the name of short-term profits. And what that we say, shareholder capitalism, but let's not forget that, you know, an individual executive from Hasbro may have been paid more in salary than the entire staff that was liquidated. So for last year. So D&D is doing great. This is despite the efforts of Hasbro to shank it in the kidney, and not because of it, however. McFudpucker mentions Red Dust Rebellion. This is probably the only coin game in the docket right now that I'm probably going to buy. So Fall of Tobruk, I haven't really looked at it. No games, no money. That's right. Well, I mean, there's plenty of well, I don't want to say plenty, but there are companies that are publicly traded companies that also have to answer to shareholders that don't behave this way. I don't know if they're a minority or not. Bianca Salasconi, this is hopefully I probably still screwed it up. Wizards of the Coast, they are the company that runs Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and a variety of other things that I don't care about. John Longshore, thank you so much. Much appreciated with tiny Christmas trees. Your Christmas gifts have also arrived, so I appreciate that. I also want to shout out to Mark Ruggiero, who sent me a couple of things, including a very nice pair of bent tweezers. Not bent like this. Do I have those here? I don't think I do. And these aren't the ones, because I have a pair already. Bent like these. These are real. You nobody makes these. You got to make these yourself. You got to buy tweezers. And for certain kinds of lift, they're really, really comfortable to use. So, as mentioned, Manders, Wizards of the Coast also had the OGL faceplant earlier in the year. I could do. I feel like I would be doing a disservice to the folks watching here tonight who came to talk about war games. If I just talked about Avalon Hill for an hour or Wizards of the Coast for an hour, but I could talk about this for an hour, and it would not be everything I would say would be justified. Let me put it that way. Mark Herman mentions that. So my understanding is that there was I don't know if there was a press release or not, but Wizards of the Coast was in charge of the Avalon Hill label for a while, but that got pulled back under Hasbro corporate. I want to say last year, 2022. I could be mistaken about that. OGL Mark is the open game license, which is the platform on which you can you or anybody, me or anybody can basically make D&D stuff. There are limitations about how what we can call it and that kind of stuff, but you could basically make your own and sell your own D&D stuff. Dale Brady, thank you. Holy cow. Dale Brady, thanks so much. Merry Christmas. I've talked him into OCS Crimea. I await my bulging commission check for Multi-Man Publishing. Let me put it that way. I expect I'll be waiting a while. OCS Crimea looks fantastic. I'm very happy that you're pleased with it. Vincenzo Beretta, thank you so much. Much appreciated. But big time here. I guess this is the Christmas show, so Merry Christmas to everybody, or happy other holidays. Vincenzo says, having enjoyed both tabletop and computer war games in 2023, can we finally put the differences aside and just talk about war games? So in principle, they're just war games, right? The only difference is the delivery method. In principle. In practice, I do find, I've talked about this before, I tend to find this like a simulation behind a computer war game fairly unsatisfying, which is disappointing considering that in principle, a computer war game can do a lot of the stuff that human players don't necessarily like to do, and i.e. math, and are apt to make errors when they are called upon to do it. So, in principle, yes, but in practice, it's a little less clear. But the support is much appreciated. And I agree. I would like us to also, though, I guess I'll also add, I would like us to consider the utility of a lot of the semantic discussions that we in the wargaming hobby tend to have. To consider where the value is being added in those semantic conversations. So let me put it that way. So Squad Lead, okay, so this is wargaming related. So Hasbro was actually sought Renegade Games out and have licensed to Renegade Games a number of things which include but are not limited to old Avalon Hill titles. I know the Avalon Hill titles that were mentioned include Acquire and Squad Leader, and what was the other one? There was Diplomacy, I believe. Plus, they are also handling the Axis and Allies stuff. So maybe Hasbro is positioning itself to be like this IP clearinghouse where they just license stuff out. I don't know, and have no internal support. So who knows? Harold Crater from the Wargame Bootcamp, thank you so much. Says, thank you for your efforts and happy holidays, everyone, and great gaming in 2024. I agree, great gaming to all. I want everybody to get to play what they want to play. Let me put it that way. ASL, MMP actually stepped out in front of this and clarified this. ASL is different from Squad Leader, and the deal with Renegade does not affect MMP or ASL in any way. So I guess Hasbro could, if they wanted, pull the license from MMP. However, I think that would be a really bizarre thing to do because I don't think anybody is as well positioned to capitalize on that IP as MMP is. Let me put it that way. All right. So next up from, we're not getting very far here. All right, Interceptor Ace Volume 2. BGG says this is a 2023 release. This is a follow-up to Interceptor Ace, which I think came out a few years ago. Designer listed on this is Fernando Sola Ramos, or Ramos. If you liked Interceptor Ace, this is pretty much on the Greg Smith model. We're now calling it the Greg Smith model. We used to call it the B-17 model. But Greg has advanced the state of the art there. And to be fair, other designers have contributed to this as well. Greg has advanced the state of the art with this type of game so far that I feel okay calling it the Greg Smith model at this point, since that is the direct influence. Patrick from Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials has thrown support my way. I might start to freak out here in a minute. He says, happy holidays and keep up the great work in 2024. Thank you so much. You are also doing great work, Patrick, and anybody that is interested in a variety of things, but especially say Commands and Colors or great campaigns in the American Civil War should go over to Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials and to subscribe because it is a fabulous channel. And that's one of the reasons why I don't do as much GCACW content as I did. Maybe, yeah. I mean, they've got hundreds of titles that are just sitting there in an IP vault somewhere. Why not farm them out, right? And if Renegade can come up with some kind of, relationship with Hasbro corporate where they can say, hey, we've been publishing these Avalon Hill things now. We'd really like to redo, I don't know, Air Assault on Crete or something like that. Maybe they could do that. Not that I think that particular thing is particularly likely. Don't get me wrong. Did I miss anybody? I hope I didn't miss anybody. I don't think I missed anybody. We're getting backed up on the chats already here. Yes. As Pete, who is the MMP marketing guy, or at least digital marketing guy, ASL and SL are totally separate. So, Combat Commander. Did I misstate? Did I mean Combat Commander and I said Commands and Colors? I like Commands and Colors. Actually, the early buzz on this, it seems like it's still a ways away, but early buzz on the squad leader for Renegade sounds like it's going to be squad leader and not like some crazy, thing with miniatures or something like that, or little plastic dudes, which is fine by me because I'd be less interested in that. Vive l'Empereur. This is a Herman Luttman design from Blue Panther now. I'm not sure if this was one that got caught in the White Dog thing or not, but there's a second edition of it out. Herman sent me a copy of this. It is a Hex Encounter Solitaire game, and I think that from my glance at it so far, it looks promising, but I think I may end up having some questions about it. Carl Fung, thanks for stopping by. Always appreciated. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure a straight republication of Squad Leader would sell. A straight republication, right? I think you can repackage it, but I think it needs a repackaging, right? Maybe with some additional scenario support or something like that to give it a little more replayability out of a core box. I'd kind of reorganize that core box. That's what I mean. I don't mean redesign the game system. Jeff Bueller says, would it be original Squad Leader or GIN? I believe they're talking about original Squad Leader, but who knows? They may well have some goal in mind to bring in all that extra stuff. But that's, a lot of those add-ons to Squad Leader are the reason that ASL happened in the first place, because after a while, particularly after GI, it became kind of a big mess. So, as Meandering Mike mentioned, Viva l'Empereur was part of the White Dog Games kerfluffle. We're calling it a kerfluffle. Yeah. Just to clarify, I wasn't saying that was the position that you were taking here. Scott Bell, thanks for stopping by. I did mention this. They approached them. I don't know if it was Squad Leader that was the lead on that or anything. Mark, I think, structurally they are really similar, but particularly when you start to get into the expansion material for the original Squad Leader, there are a lot of differences between the two. Enough differences that you can't just take a Squad Leader scenario and run it in ASL, and you could kind of hand wave at it, but you'd run into problems, I think, with most of those scenarios. ASL is a lot more complicated, but we've talked about ASL complexity before, and to some extent it's a little overstated. All right, so Brad says, per Jordan from Renegade, no plans for Squad Leader minis and focuses on the original game, not the subsequent expansions. So that's actually, I think that's really interesting, and that's how I would approach it. I would say, go for that original game, and then maybe do scenario packs of just new scenarios, right? Well, the armor in ASL is always it's not the best part of the ASL model. Let me put it that way. I think that's generally agreed upon. What do you mean? Wait. It has not. It has not. But it is in the works from Renegade Games under license from Hasbro. Pete, you do not have OCS Crimea yet? That is a crime. That is a crime. All right. Yeah, this is true, actually. So, Scott Bell says there were articles in the General about how they had to modify the guard's counterattack, which is kind of like the quintessential squad leader scenario, to balance it with the ASL rules. I think there are other things, maybe not in guards counterattack, that flatly just won't work in if you try and mix the way the two games handle them. But I would be hard pressed to come up with an example, considering that I haven't played squad leader since the 80s. And I haven't played ASL in 3 or 4 years at this point. So this is also a fair statement that Perfidious Albion is making. ASL is a continuation of Squad Leader. It reorganizes the rule set. It did kind of rebuild parts of it too. Not everything. Like I said, structurally they're pretty similar. But there are a lot of small differences that will create compatibility issues. Let me put it that way. Very good. Very good. We are on topic. We're taking our time. We're having a relaxing evening. All right. Somebody has just done something, and I don't know what that was. Carl has become a patron. Thank you, Carl. That is much appreciated. Sorry, Carl got cut off here by my not having the thing up in the correct spot. Oops. Sorry about that, but it is much appreciated. Ooh, much appreciated, Carl. We're going to have to get you back on the show on Thursdays as well, by the way. Because I could have talked to you for another hour or two just on Order of Battle stuff. All right, so Battles in the East. So there's 2 games. I may have the second one in here too, but this is the first of the 2 games so far from this this Battles in the East series. This kind of started its life as an idea over a decision to do the Battles in the East quad, the old SPI quad, to give it kind of a facelift and put 4 new battles in it. This was handed to Tony Burkett, who kind of came with a slightly different pitch, which is a new system, but one that leans very heavily on, say, the old Battles in the East and Panzergruppe Guderian, with a new line of battles included, and that's what this Battles in the East series is all about. So the first 2 volumes, we've done unboxings of all of this, so go ahead and check those out if you want. So the first 2 games are out. So you got 4 different operational level battles here with the same system. The system's super duper easy. They're very accessible. The production values are really good. I'm very happy with these games. Volume 3 and Volume 4 are in preparation. I don't know if we'll see them this year from Decision. Or when I say this year, in this case, I mean 2024. I don't know if we'll see them in 24 or 25. But it would be nice if they were out in 2024. So, all right. Yeah, let me mention this. So over at the Armchair Dragoons website, there is an end of year wargaming survey. So go ahead and take that too. It's very easy. No one will be particularly stressed out by taking the survey. Although I had questions about some of the questions. Let me put it that way. Yeah, so I mean, me too, Perfidious Albion, who hadn't played SL since the mid 90s and by then was all over ASL. Maybe the dates are a little different. Moved away from Squad Leader. I think ASL is the better experience if you are going to put the time into it. If you are not going to put the time into it, then I think Starter Kit is the better experience than regular Squad Leader, to be honest. But part of that calculus is how much of a pain in the ass is it to go find a copy of original Squad Leader. Lee Grant with a $20 super chat. Lee, thank you so much. He says, Merry Christmas. Please have a COVID-free 2024. Jesus Christ, I hope so. No one on the planet is as sick of dealing with COVID as me at this point. So All the people who got all upset because they had to wear a mask at Costco. I've had the fucking thing 5 times, so they can kiss my ass. So, all right. So Brant is on his way out the door to go do stuff with the wife. So Brant, thanks for stopping by. Uh yeah, this is a bit of a pain. I see why they did it so that they didn't have to like go in and fix all the data at the end. I have great sympathy for that. But it does make it a little bit of work. So then another factor with ASL is that there was a bunch of stuff that squad leader never got to, like the Japanese. So it is a factor that ASL has that material and squad leader does not. That's one of the reasons why. I mean, we never got Italians in regular squad leader, so much less Japanese. Well, Chad Kennedy says I'd have to skip conventions, and there's something to that. However, that said, I managed to go to 5 conventions or something like that in 2023, and only came home from one of them with COVID. So timing is probably a factor there too, to be fair. Anyway, moving on from battles in the East. 1812 War on the Great Lakes Frontier. This was long awaited by me. This is Ken Reppel's game. I still haven't played this, but I have looked through it. It's a really well produced. This was totally a passion project for Ken. It is a dynamite looking game. Dynamite looking. The folks who have played it have had great things to say about it. I look forward to getting this on a table, hopefully sometime in 2024. Let me fix this here. All right. That's not as satisfying, but at least it's not in the way. Sovereign of Discord. This is Stephen Rangazas's expansion for Mark and Volko's Fire in the Lake, which is, it depends when you ask me, but it's one of the games that I will frequently cite as my favorite coin game. The like super serious Vietnam era simulation folks are not going to find Fire in the Lake satisfying, and that is fine. But I think Fire in the Lake is an excellent game. And while not being a historical study or simulation of Vietnam, and we're getting into that wibbly wobbly what's a game and what's a civil simulation talk as well. So. All right, there's some OSG chat here happening in the chat that I am missing, so I apologize if I've missed any questions or anything like that. Chuck, once again, Napoleon invades Spain and Napoleon's quagmire. They're all worthwhile. We're playing Napoleon's last gamble right now, but I'm not going to get to go back down until January, so that kind of sucks. But oh well. Continental 7 Years War battles. Nordic Maelstrom is asking about modern games dealing with the Continental 7 Years War battles. So, the question says to be tactical, right? I assume that's what you mean. The thing that jumps immediately out in front of me is the Battles of the Age of Reason from Clash of Arms. Now, the downside of Battles of the Age of Reason is that most of them are out of print. It's not exclusively 7 Years War, but a lot of the battles that they've done have been 7 Years War battles. Most of those titles are out of print and go for relatively high, maybe not Labatai high, but relatively high prices on the secondary market. You could also try and run down Prussia's Glory, which is 7 Years War battles. Most of them, at least, are 7 Years War battles. There may be some War of the Austrian Succession battles in one or both of those as well. Seeing if anyone has made any suggestions in the chat here. Perfidious Albion says that remarketing SL is kind of weird. They really can't market it as a gateway game anymore for ASL. I agree with that. Avalon Hill tried unsuccessfully several times to do this. I feel like I've lost track in the middle of this comment, Perfidious Albion. But that was their original intention, was that you weren't going to learn ASL directly. You were going to go buy Squad Leader and learn that instead. I think that is just a fantastically absurd and backwards way to market learning a game, to kind of incentivize learning a game. Let me put it that way. That's why I think that the starter kit entry into ASL is the natural place to start ASL nowadays, unless you have a patient and knowledgeable teacher, in which case, by all means, do that. And he mentions as right. So this, I really, really like the job that they did. This was just work, right? I mean, I don't know that there's genius or anything, but I really like the job that they did in sort of pruning that giant ASL system, that big hornet's nest of a system, into this tiny bonsai bush of a I don't know 24-page rule book or something like that. Just by leaving stuff out that they situationally might not need. So very happy with that, with the job that they've done. And I think we're going to see more starter kit stuff coming up as well. So Pete, thanks for stopping by. Molotov Cocktail says that the starter kit's easier to learn than SL. This is a good question, because if your goal is to move, I believe the answer is yes. Okay. However, that said, the original squad leader used that programmed instruction model, and starter kit kind of does, but it's more like a kit level rather than a scenario by scenario level. I want to say you got 8 or 10 or 12 scenarios in the original squad leader, and you gradually added more and more of the rules until you were playing with all the rules in like the last scenario or two. And then I have all the rules, but I'm out of scenarios, right? So squad leader ASL starter kit does not have that problem. You can use it as a gateway to ASL if you want, but I also know people who are pretty much just delighted to stop with starter kit, and that's completely fine. This is maybe the best way to experience ASL, actually, is to, assuming you found a person who's the ASL person who's not a jerk, which is not that hard to find. It's just that, you got to be aware of it. I forgot what I was saying. It's probably the bourbon, to be completely honest. I'm gonna close. I'm gonna add these weird notifications that are distracting me here. How do I close this fucking thing? There we go. It is closed. Cool. Yeah, Manders mentions Precious Glory 1 and 2 out of print, but not that hard to find. You'll probably pay north of $50 for it for either of them nowadays, but you can still do that. So if you're interested in, and Steve Dole just did some video on Precious Glory 1 and 2, so I recommend watching those as well. All right, William Aarons with a $20 super chat. William, thank you so much. This has been a year of eclectic collecting. My videos and live streams have helped in the choices he's made, including 4 Rohrbach high-flying dice War of 1812 games, and the 5th edition Russian campaign, and the Armor Group Center games. So cool. I hope that you enjoy all of the stuff, because I will feel bad if I sold it to you and you hate it. So moving on from Sovereign of Discord, here's one I haven't seen, but they're on the list for a couple of, for Napoleon's Conquest, which I believe is out now. So if I didn't say this, William, thank you so much for the support, and thank everybody for the really spectacular support we got here going on here tonight. So happy holidays, everybody. Okay, Napoleon's Conquest. So this is a card-driven game. It's got a sharp-looking map. We pull the map up. I think this map looks really nice, but it also looks very, very low granularity, or high granularity, or low granularity, which is not normally my preference. However, I've heard good things about the game, and it looks Euro in mechanical style to me. Jonathan, thank you for becoming a patron. Your support is much appreciated. Holy cow. Okay, I literally can't keep up with all this, man. So thank you, everyone. So anyway, all right. So let's pull Napoleon's Conquest back up. So I've heard good things about Napoleon's Conquest, but I don't have anything substantive to say. However, Fellowship of Simulations is the publisher. Now they are a European publisher. They in Italy or Spain? Paris. They are in Paris. So the interesting thing here is that the Eagles of France series, that's Walter Vodovsky's Eagles of France series, so Fallen Eagles, Rising Eagles, those games are moving to Fellowship of Simulations. And their first release, and this will probably, so we're hearing, probably come out in 2024, is going to be actually, I'm not really sure, but what I think is in it is going to be like Eilau and some of, is it Eilau or Friedland? I'm pretty sure it's Eilau and or Friedland. So it's going to be like a big multi-battle package. It sounds really, really cool. And I like what I've seen of that system so far. Let me put it that way. All right. Yeah. So John, glad you're enjoying that. I saw your video on that the other day. It's a really remarkable system for doing what it does in as little lift as possible. There's like a significant like cognitive leap involved in really getting it. But I think once you do really get it, I think it's a really impressive piece of design. Really impressive. Perfidious Albion is dabbling in Sicily too and is interested to see how it differs from the original OCS Sicily. Same system, different scale. Yeah, they feel very different, actually. It's kind of, it's very interesting to compare the two, actually. And I've made some of those observations. It's been a couple years now for either of them, but yeah, it's very I don't want to say instructive because it's not like you need it, but it's very interesting to compare the two different versions of Sicily. All right, Meandering Mike did an unboxing of Napoleon's Conquest, so go check that out. I'm feeling very ungrinched this year so far, based on all the support that we've gotten tonight. So Kyle Harris asked if has Hexasim divested themselves of Eagles of France. I have no idea what is going on over there with this, but it's moving to Fellowship of Simulations. Maybe other than this map snafu, which I think is just a one-off piece of thing that I got to just call Hexasim or email Hexasim about, and I just haven't. I'm really, really pleased with those games, and I would like to see that system cover more battles. And right now, we've just got the 4, and it's been several years since they've done one. And I'd like to see them continue to. I'd like to see them continue to support that system with other battles. And if Eilau's next, cool. Well, 2024 is going to be the year of Eilau. So. Oh, yeah. So Vincenzo Beretta mentions Fire in the Lake, which is the name of a book. I didn't know. I wasn't familiar with that book, though. So this has been so naming war games after books or movies that cover the same topic has been a thing that has been happening since at least the mid 70s. You can mine, I believe Bruce Catton's entire corpus has been thoroughly mined for wargame titles at this point. I'd kind of like to try. North Africa 41 is on this list. It's maybe the game of 2023 that I regret buying the most. And that might sound like I think it stinks, and I don't. I think it's really good, but I think it's probably really good. But then it like shows up, and I'm like, I didn't need another North Africa game at this scale. I've got several North Africa games at this scale already, and I'm not interested enough in this topic to support having 12 games on North Africa at this scale. I'm not sure what that actual number is. It's not 12, but it's more than I feel like I need. So I have it. It's kind of made its way to the slush pile and back again. So I'm not planning to get rid of it at this time, but I don't expect North Africa 41 to get played anytime soon. Roger Hemseth says, BCS do not see a great system, good sure. I don't believe I'm drunk enough to interpret this sentence. So Scott Bell is going to try North Africa 41 now that the Vassal module is out. It is 2 maps, as I recall, so that is a factor. Wolf Dog, thank you so much for the support. Thanks for letting me block off Monday nights with Sorry My Show was on. So remember when there was one television in the house and you had to fight over it? We don't have that anymore, and that's great. I did not enjoy that as a child. So because it was always we'd watch whatever my sister wanted to watch. And I never got to watch Battlestar Galactica or Buck Rogers or any of that. Instead, we had to watch Little House on the Prairie and other insipid bullshit. So, baggies. Where are the baggies? There are the baggies. So we're making excellent progress. We're halfway clipped with this entire game at this point. Mark says that Fire in the Lake is a must read if you have any interest in the Vietnam War, and it has been added to my reading list, Mark. I think probably based on the last time you brought it up, to be honest. All right, yeah. So Brazen Chariots and North Africa. Brazen Chariots doesn't cover the whole Western Desert campaign, right? It just covers Operation Crusader plus Battle Axe, and what was the other one that's in there as well? But even just looking at the Western Desert campaign, I've got plenty. I've really got plenty. I got more than I need. That's kind of the issue, right? All right. So next up here is Europa Universalis: The Price of Power. As Perfidious Albion is quite right here, I'll talk about this in a minute here. I picked this up. So this was a Kickstarter, and it was like a big splashy Kickstarter. You can get a million different doodads to go along with it and all that stuff. I did not get in on the Kickstarter. I have something better than Kickstarter. I have a buddy who buys two of everything and sometimes wants to dump his second copy of it shortly after they arrive. So I bought him, and this is the same buddy who's I got the extra special present of COVID from, by the way. This is fair. This is a completely fair statement. There are things that Fire in the Lake is simulating, but it's strategic and not tactical in this way. There's also I think a lot of people do. Shit, I screwed this up. Yep. A lot of people get hung up on the sort of a literal interpretation of the card text as reflecting that specific historical operation, right? And I think this is a criticism that we've seen of basically every card-driven game. I do think that generally speaking, for card-driven games, you kind of have to abandon that idea that those map one-to-one. All right. So Joe Perez says, just saw a Facebook post about the second 4X title in the Italy series, the Area from Naples. Yeah. So I'm all over this. I'm very interested in this Italian campaign, and we don't see a lot of traffic on it. So I will be delighted to pick up whatever Mark would like, basically whatever Mark would like to do, to be honest. Roger says that BCS is not a great system, but it is a good system. I feel like the more BCS I play, the better and greater I think it is. Let me put it that way. The more I see of the inside of it, the more I admire what it is doing. Cal Harris says appointment viewing is reserved for Artie and Patrick's Tactics Editorials Grand Takes Command campaign. So thank you on Patrick's behalf. I'm sure he's delighted to hear that as well. Dallas and Dynasty. Yes, well, one of these days we'll play I heard another report of some blogger or something like that playing the Dallas RPG, and apparently they had a hoot of a time with it. So Mark says that Brazen Chariots is amazing. I mean, if one is looking for Operation Crusader or Battle Axe or Verity. That's no. Shit. What's the third operation that's in that game? It's much shorter than Operation Compass. So, well, in a way, Stigler, maybe it's better if 2024 is the year of ILAO. In general, I mean, you don't want like you to have help fund or invest yourself in a game, even if that's just emotional, and then the thing ends up not coming out. Okay. I don't think we're in terrible danger of that on any of the ILAO games that are currently running late. Let me put it that way. Yes, exactly. Got to step past that. I've seen the map. Marcus post. I believe Marcus posted the map before, although this may be an updated version. That's presumably the case if this was recent. I actually also had spaghetti, but I had a meat sauce today. All right, so I think this is okay. So let's acknowledge for the moment that no. So now I have played this twice, but neither game was to completion. Playing this to completion is kind of a big project. We do need to recognize that there are basically now three different games called Europa Universalis. There's Europa Universalis, the original thing from Azure Wish. There's Europa Universalis, the video game from Paradox. And there's four different versions of that and approximately 6.8 billion pieces of DLC. And then there's this new game from Azure Games. And I have it. I am pretty impressed with it. I will say that it's a lot for a game of this kind, which is kind of like this grand strategy game that's like not pitched as a war game. I think this definitely has more than enough war game elements to consider it a war game. But the combat is relatively straightforward. Oh dear, something is happening. Aaron, thank you so much for the patronage. That is much appreciated. And I guess we're an hour in, so now's as good a time as any to talk about that, since I've already pulled down Europa Universalis: The Price of Power. It is a cool game. There will be a reprint. I do recommend it. There is something to be said in the idea that it's better to play it on a computer because that manages a lot of the work for you. All right, so there are a bunch of things I want to accomplish for Ardwulf's Lair, the channel, in 2024. And, you know, continuing to grow the channel as we move more closer to 8,000 subscribers, which should happen sometime next year. Might even 9,000 could theoretically happen. There's a number of options I'm exploring. I'm really don't want to like ask you folks for more support because the support has, especially tonight, the support is often very lavish and makes me, it's like that, right? So an opportunity for sponsorship came up, and I said yes to that sponsorship, and you're about to see the results of that. It's from Noble Knight, which probably doesn't surprise anybody. They are the official sponsor of the Counter Clipping Show until further notice. It was ironic that I mentioned this last week too. And during, at the time of last week's show, we were still talking about this. They reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them. But I was, it's extra money. It's a certain amount of which is in store credit. And as you know, they have everything, or as close to everything as you can find. And what I hope this will do is allow me to do coverage on certain games that might otherwise be out of reach because I can build towards store credit. Now, that said, in the links in the video description, you will find an affiliate link. If you click on that stuff and buy stuff through that link at Noble Knight, and as we know, they have everything, then I will get a certain amount of kickback in the form of store credit for Noble Knight. And I mean, that's just as good as cash as far as I'm concerned, because they have so much stuff, right? So I have a huge wish list. That is another way to help support the channel. If you're going to buy stuff through Noble Knight anyway, down in the video description, there's an affiliate link. And even if you put like stuff in a cart and then come back a few days later or up to some amount of time and buy it later, then it'll still count. So yes, no, Mark, this showed up and it looks interesting to me. I want to check it out. So all right, let's I missed missing a lot of comments here. There we go. Carl clarifies that Brazen Chariots includes brevity, battle axe. I was thinking verity is what was in my head, and I'm like, that's not right. Battle axe, Scorpion, Crusader, uh, plus Tobruk. So it's a very value heavy package. So I don't know if there'll be a coupon code. I think you can stack anybody else's coupon codes with the affiliate link, though. I think that'll still work. And that is completely fine. That will help support me and help support Noble Knight, and everybody ends up happy. So there is something that I did not believe I would ever get to say on this channel, and that is we'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world. Just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right, so big thanks to Noble Knight for being the sponsor of the show. And like I said, it's going to be a help in terms of obtaining things that might otherwise be difficult to obtain. So, oh, shut up, man! You were in there. You saw the gaming Valhalla that the place is. So there'll probably be another field trip up there at some point. So I've been seeing that commercial a lot on YouTube. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube. So, and they take trade-ins, right? And they'll give you, I mean, are you going to get top dollar for your trade-ins? No, but you'll get it respectable. I mean, you'll get a decent amount considering that it's a trade-in. Let me put it that way. We went and traded some stuff in, and they went over. They didn't tell us until we were almost out the door. It's like, hey, we're really not supposed to do this late in the day, and they did it anyway. The support is just superlative there. So you guys could say I sold out, and I will laugh over the wheelbarrows full of cash that Noble Knight will be backing up to the front of my house. And by wheelbarrows, I mean a small, modest amount of store credit, but still. There you go. Yeah, actually, so if you do, yeah, I mean, if you go there to, by all means, mention that that I recommended them. And it's not like talk about, I don't really want to spend a ton of time talking about this, but I guess we'll talk about it. So this is, going to be an ongoing thing. I've got a shorter spot to play too. It's not always going to be the 30-second spot, but this is almost certainly correct, Perfidious Albion. So I've been happy to be a customer of Noble Knight for a while, right? And like I mentioned, we went and visited the store on our way back from Denver a few years ago, and it was aside from it was that by itself was a memorable experience. Let me put it that way. So I actually had through I forget who it was, some streaming platform that I've used tools from, offered me a sort of a packaged HelloFresh sponsorship. And I was like, hey, this is it's like $700. I mean, that'd be cool. I could use that, but I don't use this product, right? So I was not comfortable, just on that basis, I was not comfortable saying yes to that, even though I could have thrown a 30-second HelloFresh thing in there. I'm like, I'm not a customer of theirs. I can't vouch for their product. Maybe it's great. I don't know. I can vouch for Noble Knight. I can vouch for them both from certainly from a service standpoint. And I guess I'll tell the story. I've told it before, and maybe even recently. So Chad Canetti, thank you so much for the support. They will have to send me a Knight's helmet, and that'll probably come out of my store credit if they have to. So, and John Stanley, thank you for the support. So John and Chad, thank both of you for the support. We are unfortunately not talking about Scrooge McDuck levels of cash or even store credit, but every little bit helps, right? I mean, I mean, I don't think I'm shocking anybody by saying that one of the games on that list of things that I'd like to cover that is just out of reach is Campaign for North Africa, right? And this arrangement maybe makes that a possibility, right? So if you buy something from Noble Knight through that affiliate link, you'll be contributing to me getting a copy of Campaign for North Africa. Let me put it that way. So, and that's important. So thank you for the support. Again, more support tonight has been just crazy, actually. No, well, I would know, I hope, if she was. No, she doesn't. If they reached out to me, maybe. I like Nardelli's. It's pretty good. So, I mean, Dan's got the helmet already. So the story is that I get an email at one. This is probably 5 years ago now, and someone out in the crowd has heard the story before. I get this email from eBay that says, "Hey, please pay the invoice for this thing that you won." And I open up the email and I'm like, I didn't bid on anything. What's going on? And I look at this invoice for $1,600 worth of advanced squad leader stuff. And I'm like, ugh. So I swiftly figured out what had occurred. So it seems that prior to getting an actual working smartphone, a certain person named Fucko had been in the habit of taking, let me borrow your phone so I could browse eBay. Browsing eBay on other people's phones, and oops, an error occurred, and he hit buy now and bought me at $1,600 worth of advanced squad leader stuff that I didn't need and couldn't pay for. I have no doubt that it was an accident, but he is not going to hear the end of it anytime soon. So, okay, it was only $1,400. That's much better, isn't it? It was only $1,400 that I accidentally bought for you of ASL product that you didn't need. So that was from Noble Knight. It was a Noble Knight auction. So of course, I'm like, oh fuck, I had to straighten this out. So I called Noble Knight up, and I explained what was going on to it. I'm like, look, I'm sorry about this. The beatings have already begun, but I don't have $1,400 to give you, so you're not getting it anyway. And they were absolutely 100% cool about it. And probably were laughing while they had me on hold. So that was actually, I think, my first contact with Noble Knight. So, and since then I've bought a fair amount of stuff. I mean, half this RuneQuest stuff up on the shelf here came from them. A bunch of Wargames came from them. I have occasionally had an issue. I think once or twice had an issue. You reach out to them and they'll fix it. It's you don't have to argue with them or anything like that. Reach out to them. You have a problem, explain what's going on, and they'll take care of it. So, highest rating for customer service in the entire wargaming space, as far as I'm concerned. So, the hilarious thing is, I had just bought a full set of ASL off of him like a week before. It was probably a couple months before, actually. But I have no doubt that it was an accident. I do not believe it was a malicious or a prank or anything like that. But it's one of those things that we're not really going to let him forget about, are we? And that now the answer is, hey, can I use your? No, get your own goddamn phone. So, just left Noble Knight. She, that's not new news. She had actually, well, it was actually news to me. I didn't know right away. But she had left. She's been gone from Noble Knight for at least a few months. So, which, I'm sure they miss her very dearly. They put it that way. We're going to try and get this entire thing done. So that moved on from that. Europa Universalis, the price of power. There you go, Mark. Pacific War and Empire of the Sun are Noble Knight bestsellers, and they have a very robust selection of war games too. RPGs too. I mean, they got cards and RPG stuff and miniatures and all that jazz. So by all means, check all that out. But if you're looking for war games, and you know what, like if you look at their like old Clash of Arms Labatai titles, the prices are not bad. There's a little bit of a reputation for really high prices, and while they do have some stuff at really high prices, that's not made up. They also have stuff at what I consider pretty reasonable prices. A lot of the old, I've actually bought dice from them too. A lot of the RPG stuff that I bought from them has been at quite reasonable prices. If it's like a legitimately premium rare item, yeah, they're going to charge what it's worth. So I agree, Stigler. at some point, I'd like to have an adult conversation about how to do that, and what the challenges to that are. That's not going to happen tonight here, but it's a thing we'd like to see. There's demographic things in the way. Let me put it that way. But to some extent, some of those demographic barriers are artificial. There's I think not a serious effort on the part of wargamers to keep anybody out. But the optics of that can usually, I don't know about usually, but can often seem really off-putting. I think I'm firmly convinced it's as much an optics thing as it is anything else. But that doesn't make it not real, right? So, and Vicky agrees too. When we ran Europa at Origins a couple of years ago, we had a woman stop by, and she was retired Air Force, and she dove in. She was like reading the rule book between slots of the game, and I mean, she was like super into it, and I thought that's fantastic. And all we had to do was not treat her like an alien, so not really that hard. Even Dan can do it. If Dan can do it, everybody can do it. There's plenty of women in university history departments, for the record. Maybe not studying military history, but I guess I could say, I mean, I don't no reason to keep this quiet. Let's say that if we look at YouTube analytics and look at the number of women versus men, or at least, however they registered as viewers, I think I'm at about 1% female, something like that. I have reason to think that's pretty high in the wargaming space in terms of YouTube audience, maybe not in terms of convention attendance. Convention attendance, I think it's actually slightly higher than that. And that's based on, just what I saw and had reports on from, say, Consum World, which is the biggest such event. And I think if we look at, say, Compass Expo, I think that same percentage of 2 to 3%, I think, is about right. I don't know if, how much higher than that we're ever going to get, but I'd like everybody to feel welcome in the space. If they're interested, That's good enough for me. So I wish my wife was interested in this stuff, but she's not. All right, moving on from that. Valley of Tears, the Yom Kippur War. Speaking of Carl is the designer of this. We did a video on this. We also did an interview with Carl. I want to get this to the table. I'm not sure it's going to happen all that soon, but this will be my first Arab-Israeli Wars game. And I did pour this bourbon very generously, by the way. And I'm just a little bit. So there you go. So Mark's wife is playtester for Rebel Fury. So there you go. Good enough for Mark's wife. It's good enough for anybody else, as far as I'm concerned. This is interesting. When Meandering Mike was featuring food storage and organization, he had 40% female viewership. As game coverage increased, he lost them all and is now down to 4%. Like I said, I suspect that 4% is pretty high, but you might be looking at 4% still watching the food storage videos too. That's possible. Yeah, I really want to play Valley of Tears. It looks really neat. All right, Under the Southern Cross, latest, and this came out early in the year, latest in the Flying Colors series from Mike Nagel. This is South American Age of Sail battles. We don't obviously see a lot of that, so I'm glad that we're seeing it here. Always interested in, well, not always, but it's easy to tempt me with stuff that I don't have a lot of games on about. Let me put it that way. Also coming out this year was Robotech Reconstruction. We did have an interview with one of the two designers on this, and it's a coin-inspired game set in the Robotech universe. It actually looks pretty neat. I haven't had the chance to play it, but it's been well received by the people I've talked to who have played it, but it also does not seem to have drawn maybe as much attention as it deserves. Maybe that's the IP. I don't know. I don't know how thriving the Robotech IP is nowadays. All right, here's one that didn't come out, but we ought to be seeing it at some point, not too far from now. And when we're closer, I'll have some content on this because I've got one of the prototypes. This is First Victories from Terry Doherty. This is Napoleonic tactical battalion level in sort of direct competition with La Bataille. I'm very interested to try this system out. It looks very promising. We have 2 battles here from the Peninsular War, which I think are maybe a little less engaging than a lot of people than one of the big battles might be. But a big battle in this format is going to be a humongous game too, right? So pretty stoked for this, actually. This is one of those things that got delayed by Lock and Load due to whatever went on to delay Lock and Load on this. But I am very interested in seeing where this system goes in the future. From what I've seen of it so far, it's pretty obviously La Bataille inspired, but it's also different than La Bataille in, I think, a different way than well, I don't know that I can say that Wellington's victory was particularly inspired by La Bataille. Frank Davis, the designer, is in the chat here tonight, so maybe if he wants to say it was, then cool. But my guess is that maybe it wasn't. They're pretty different treatments of the topic. And I'm really interested in seeing the ILAU thing from New England Simulations. But, then again, okay, we got ILAU. Are we able to? No, as Perry Sporopoulos, it is not. This and whatever the World at War thing was called and something else are the 3 Kickstarters or crowdfunds or whatever. I think they were actually on GameFound that are late from Lock and Load Publishing. There have been some updates recently from David and the people at Lock and Load, and these should materialize over the next several months, but they are late. So there's no getting around that they're late. So it is unfortunately not. All right, on to Richmond 2. This was one of my highlights of the year as far as I'm concerned. This is A, Great Campaigns of the American Civil War. B, reprints one of, I think, the best topics of Great Campaigns of the American Civil War that has been handled by the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War system. On to Richmond itself is the Peninsula campaign. This is a campaign of maneuver and retreat and fairly costly battles. And this system is going to do a really, really good job of modeling that. On to Richmond, the original On to Richmond was the hardest to find and by far the most expensive game in the entire series to get. So this brings it up to the current standards and also includes a redone Grant Takes Command, which is the Wilderness campaign, or the Overland campaign, if you like, which includes the Battle of the Wilderness, plus a campaign or a module rather on the Petersburg campaign. So I was like super excited about this. I was delighted to get it. As soon as it showed up, it got punched and clipped and organized in an exceptionally OCD meticulous way. It's expensive. However, there, as is always the case with these GCACW games, there's just a ton of value in these boxes. So I am not, I don't regret what it cost in any way. Next up is Alex Knight's Land and Freedom. This is a very interesting game about the Spanish Civil War, in which it's like, is it fair to call it cooperative? I don't know. I haven't played it yet. It's been extremely well received. Alex Knight now has something in the pipeline from GMT as well. I've got this. It's from Blue Panther, right? And it looks really, really interesting. It is it a war game? I don't know, but I'm not sure I care. It looks like a very interesting game, and it is on a very interesting topic. And it shouldn't take you. 60 to 90 minutes sounds about right. 1 or 2 hours on this. Eric Goebel, thank you so much. It is much appreciated. Thanks for the engagement on TikTok. Well, you keep doing cool stuff on TikTok. Yeah, you're bringing the lead on TikTok as far as I'm concerned. I'm just trying to get content out, not successfully. I raised the phone up to do a TikTok today, and I'm like, fuck it, I just put it away. I'm like, I don't have the wherewithal to do that right now. The drama around the Lock and Load stuff, I think, has died down considerably. And frankly, that's just because they started talking about what's going on. And I don't, you know, as I said when this was going on, I didn't think David was trying to rip anybody off. I think the circumstances were just hosing him, and he didn't really want comfortable talking about it. So I think we will see this stuff. You know, and I'm excited to see first victories specifically. Moving along. Coruscant Pocket 2. We did an unboxing of this with Fucko, who refused to be on camera, even though I had him say a couple of things during the video. So this is the Jack Rady Classic from Pacific Rim Publishing in a new edition that's in a big box, and it's got a lot. It's a big game, and it's got a lot of pieces. And from what I can tell, the game looks good. This is a redo of the classic from People's Wargames. It's unfortunate, but I imagine understandable or foreseeable that they could not secure the rights from Roger McGowan. I assume he holds the rights to the original cover of Coruscant Pocket, which was a fabulous Roger McGowan cover from the mid 70s. The original is a classic. A number of the things from People's Wargames are very interesting. This is from East Front Maestro Jack Rady. That said, in terms of physical components, other than having a huge volume of player aids and setup displays and stuff like that, I felt like this was a letdown. I felt like the counters looked not well designed, and the map, as far as I could tell, is the exact same map that was issued in the mid to or late 70s, whatever the original came out. If it's different, I can't tell that it was different without both maps in front of me to compare them side by side. Fallblau looks pretty good, I gotta tell you. That's another thing on the list of things I want to get played. So Coruscant Pocket 2, probably a good alternative to the original, but also, oh, we got a ton more. Also not a huge upgrade. In a way it is, because I mean it's in a nice thick box, and it's the counters are thick and they're not awful. The map's pretty disappointing. But you know, in terms of physical components, I don't think it's where it needs to be in 2023, but it's really hard to get the original too. So I don't know if it fizzled. I mean, I heard some talk about it, and people are playing it, but there are a bunch of games on this topic too at this point, including another one that we're going to get to at some point. Silent War 2.0. This is a new edition of Silent War from Compass. I picked this up at Compass Expo. This also looks pretty good. I would like to try this, but it is a solitaire game, which means that it is probably not incredibly high on my list of things I would like to do. If John C. goes to Winter Offensive, he would hit the GCACW event. Me too, but I'm not going. So that's unfortunate, but I'm just there's no way the money will work for me in mid-January. So well, in Aaron, in this case, it was very easy. They just used the same map. They didn't redo the map. So it looks 40 years old, 50 years old. Oh, now I don't have any issues whatsoever in terms of physical component quality with Time for Trumpets. I do feel like a lot of people picked up Time for Trumpets and they were excited about it and then maybe bounced off of it because of just the way it's presented. In that case, I think it's in terms of like pedagogical presentation rather than in terms of just like component quality and stuff like that. I'm not sure when Coruscant Pocket 2 was released, but it was probably around mid-year, give or take, Q2, Q3, something like that. I'm very much looking forward to Last Gamble. The components are really nice. We've seen the proof copy. I've talked to Danny about it. I've talked to people who have played it, people who I know and whose judgment on this kind of thing I will interpret as a positive sign. And everybody's speaking very highly of it. It'll probably get played at Winterfest as well. So Manry Mike has a spare copy of Coruscant Pocket 2 that he will trade for a shrink copy of Axis Empire's Ultimate. That's also on this list. But not yet. Task Force, Carrier Battles in the Pacific. This is by Junichiro Suzuki, Japanese designer, and it's from VUCA Simulations. I haven't really looked at this other than to look at pictures of it, and it looks fantastic, as everything from VUCA tends to look. I don't really know a ton about it. I've heard mixed things. in terms of the model in use here. But that doesn't mean that I would necessarily agree if I were to play it. And it's operational World War II naval in the Pacific. It looks great. And they've even got the names in Japanese on the counters. That's actually pretty cool. I think that's actually pretty cool. But anyway, and it looks fantastic. I'm very impressed with VUCA right now, in terms of the component quality of what they're doing. So, all right, next up is Storm over Jerusalem. This came out in about April, May, something like that. Well, I think April, maybe it was even March. This is the Area Impulse Siege of Jerusalem, basically. I hate putting it that way because it makes it sound like I'm saying it's just a redo of Siege of Jerusalem, and it's not. It's a completely different game with a completely different system on the same general topic. The Siege of Jerusalem in, what was it, 70 AD? How about that? Okay. So by the Romans. So interesting topic. It is the same topic as the classic. Siege of Jerusalem. But in this case, it's an area impulse with cards. And that's not something that I've seen before. I think I did a buddy unboxing of this. I hope I did. So it looks interesting. I have not played an area impulse game still. And I might not get to it. There we go. I might not get to it anytime soon. But area impulse in general is a thing I would like to explore. Speaking of the course on Cherkasy Pocket, this is Traces of War from Lucas Simulations. This is by Tetsuya Nakamura, another Japanese designer. And I saw this on a table at Compass Expo, and I'm very impressed with how it looks. It's also this is Cherkasy Course on Pocket, right? I thought so. I'd have to figure the dates out, but I thought so. And you can get their stuff. Yes, you can get their stuff from Noble Knight. And I did ask, by the way, I'm not trying to still pimp Noble Knight, but I'll mention this. I did ask where the Fellowship of Simulations stuff was going to be available in the United States, and was told that there will probably be a couple different ways to get it, but that Noble Knight will have those items. So that will be a good place to do that. It's already kind of the place to go to get other European publishers' stuff, to be honest. So this looks very interesting. It's an incredibly good-looking game. A Glorious Chance. This is Gina Willis's Solitaire game about naval battles on Lake Ontario during the War of 1812. And it looks very interesting. Where's the back? God damn it. There we go. This looks neat. This is from Legion. I've had a couple of people. I did not pick this up, though. I had a couple of people. Okay. I had one person that said they had some kind of weird layering effect on their counters. I forget who that was. But then I asked other people if they were experiencing that too, and they said no. So I don't believe that to have been a universal problem. It may have just been a problem with specific copies. That it sounded kind of similar to what the effect that I get when flipping counters from Thin Red Line. And we did an interview with Gina, who was a great interview, by the way. So check that out with Dan. Warfighter, the fantasy card game from Dan Verson Games. John, thank you so much for sending me this. So this is what it sounds like. It's Warfighter, but it's a fantasy, and it's even got like a little world book in it. It's pretty neat. That said, it looks like there's like 140 pages of total rules overhead here, which seems like a lot for the kind of game that this appears to be. So there's that. So I'm not sure I'm going to get to this soon, but I would like to try it. It looks pretty neat. John sent me a bunch of stuff, so thank you, John Longshore. Moving along to Seas of Thunder. This is Jeff Horder's game. It's Global War at Sea, from GMT. I think that's a little bit of an unfair way to characterize it. I will say that the map is weird. I'll show you the map. It's understandable why the map looks like this, but it's still weird. I've seen this on a table again at Compass Expo, and it's incredibly crowded. There's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, it is a global game after all, but I mean, it looked really crowded. Let me put it that way. I have had a couple of people tell me they really like this, and a couple of people tell me that they bounced off of it. So and I've had basically the exact same reactions on Oceans of Fire, by the way. A couple of people say they really liked it. A couple of people bounced off of it, which is why I decided I wanted to pick it up, because I wanted to check it out for myself. I haven't picked this up yet. This might be a 2024 GMT sale pickup for me. It is in a a 2-inch box, which is probably too small for it, considering there's a lot of shit in it. All right, this is Bob Kalinowski's Clash of Sovereigns: The War of the Austrian Succession. This is the same designer as Prussia's Glory, also from GMT, and Prussia's Glory 2, of course. And I believe it's this. I think he did Clash of Monarchs too. So this did not get well received. I don't know that I'd read a lot into the BGG number specifically, but it was not well received. I like the cover. I kind of like the cover. It's kind of GMT without looking too GMT. You know what I'm saying? From what I understand, this is pretty messy, and I believe there's going to be an update kit produced by GMT for it. So. Border Reavers from Ed Beach. This is an interesting looking. This is not my thing, right? I looked at this when it became available, and I've seen this on a table at WBC. And if you look at this map, you'll think, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. It's really attractive seen in person. It's a really nice looking game. Not really my thing, even though, maybe once I ponder my additional unplanned Scottish heritage, maybe we'll become more interested in this topic, but I just was not necessarily topically interested in this. There's a century-long period where the Scots are raiding over the English border, and that's what this is about. So Axis Empire's Ultimate Edition. This is another thing that took its time getting to us. Now that it has arrived, I think I want to play it first, but we've already done some fiddling with it, and I am very pleased with what I see so far. It is a quite expensive product. There's no doubt about that. I think I'm gonna. Nah, that's dumb. We'll do it this way. It's a quite expensive game. I'm not going to lie about that, but if you play it a couple of times, you'll get your money out of it. So I'm not terribly concerned about it from that standpoint. It was a really big hit. However, all that said, it was a really big hit and not great time. Downfall: Conquest of the Third Reich. This is a co-design that Chad Jensen was working on, and that Kai Jensen, his widow, and John Butterfield helped to complete for Chad. This was released in 2023, and this has gone over extremely well. I predict that this is going to be one of those games like the U.S. Civil War that we basically see at every single convention. Within a year or two, I think that's what this game will be. I haven't had a chance to play this yet. I'll say, Mark, they are absolutely really nicely clipped and organized. Can verify. In fact, you got the second generation. I like organized all mine, and then the subsequent thinking about organization is the ones you got, and now I am reorganizing mine to match what you got. So yeah, I don't know that the color changes were really the problem here. And it does have a new game smell. Smells like China. But I'm pretty impressed with it. So, and I'm pretty impressed with Downfall too. North Africa 41, we've already talked about this. This is one that I just probably shouldn't have spent the money on. I mean, if had it been free, I'd have been like, oh yeah, okay, fine, that's fine. But it wasn't, and I probably shouldn't have spent the money on it, to be honest. Vincenzo, can you send me a link to that? That would be very interesting. I'd be very interested in seeing something like that. My email address is in the. God damn it! Did I not put this in? I didn't. We have last week's Patreon shout outs in the ticker. Sorry about that. To Ariadne and Adam MC are the new patrons this week. Just because I've got a lot of coverage of North Africa already. And the money's really tight, and it was still tight at the time. And of course, I'm not making that complaint about Axis Empires, which was almost 5 times as much money. But I'm also, I was all over Axis Empires. North Africa 41 looks really solid. It's just like, I feel like I have a lot of coverage on Western Desert right now. More than I need. Inferno from Enrico Acerbi. This is Volko was a co-designer on that. This is Guelphs versus Ghibellines in 14th century Italy. An interesting topic that I became interested in my Renaissance Italy class, actually, and was one of the more interesting parts of that class. Not a complete banger of a class, by the way, but there were certain things that we're interested in. This is Levian campaign, operational medieval. We don't see a lot of that. I'm very interested in seeing what they do to move this into the ancients period. Yeah, this is the Trevor Bender game. Damn it, what's this called? Trevor Bender's game from the last issue or the previous issue of C3I. I forget what it was called. Desert something. So Mo from Mo's Game Table is here. Everybody needs some booze. Desert Victory. Yes, Trevor Bender's Desert Victory. So, and I've seen that on table too at a game convention. So, all right. Triumph at Marengo. I'm not going to try and pronounce this in French. This is Rachel Simmons' final game, it sounds like, and it's a redo of the earlier Bonaparte at Marengo. This is I've never played any of these, but they look really interesting and really quite phonogenic as well. I think this is out now, if I'm not mistaken. This is really interesting to me because you kind of use these little sticks, if you will, to kind of represent. It kind of has a look and feel of an actual campaign map, and then you move these units around as though you might if it were a Kriegspiel. And it very naturally reflects the difference between a line and a column formation. And you kind of set things up to move along these paths along the map. This is a really interesting looking game. I don't know if this is new Perfidious Albion. Like I said, this is a new version of Bonaparte at Marengo. This is from Histo Game. Bonaparte at Marengo was Simmons Games. Rachel Simmons has now retired. And Mark says that it reached its apogee with Guns of Gettysburg, which is one that I've seen in person, and it's just as impressive as the rest of them. I feel like I'd be more interested in this Marengo game. And in fact, this is something I might try and borrow from our new friends at Noble Knight. Because I wonder if this is, do we have a Histo Game is a German company, it sounds like. Okay, well, their website's not great, but the game's supposed to be cool, so we'll take a look at that later. Next up is Plantagenet. I will trigger somebody by pronouncing it in the French or pseudo-French manner, but they were French, so they get pronounced like French people. So Plantagenet, the Cousins' War. This is Wars of the Roses. In Levian campaign, looks just as promising as the rest of the Levian campaign games, but because I have a pile of Levian campaign games that I have yet to get to, I held off on this one. This might be another one that I pick up after the fact. Where did I put the bag of your damn counter? There it is. We're not quite 100% clipped on this. Well, it all comes from Latin when it comes right down to it, doesn't it? So, Empire of the Sand, North Africa 40 to 43. This sounds it might be very interesting, actually. Ooh, Mark says that Plantagenet is his favorite of Levian campaign series and likes the strategic elements. So that's very interesting as well. We're going to need a Ziploc bag for these things for correct pronunciation. Oh, well, if we've made Stigler happy, we've really accomplished something here tonight. Carrier Battles Philippine Sea. This is John Southard's new take on the classic carrier game from Victory Games. Now, I don't know if this was any good or not, but I can tell you that A, there's a fair amount of YouTube video about it, and B, it absolutely evaporated on contact with the Compass Games customer base. So this is getting reprinted, but it went out of print and became unavailable very quickly. It is a solitaire game. It is the Battle of the Philippine Sea using the carrier system. So, the British Way. This is the coin multi-pack. This actually also looked really good, and it's another one that I passed on just because I didn't want to spend the money. And it actually looks pretty good. It is a series of 4 2-player coin games dealing with decolonialization. And there is a campaign game that links them. It actually looks pretty neat. This has been very well received as well, and it's something I might pick up at some point maybe when it goes on sale. Western Front Ace. This was in the cooker for quite a while. This is Greg Smith's solitaire game of World War I air combat. It looks pretty impressive, and I can see why it took Greg a long time to do, because there's a ton of content in it. Check out the unboxing video from last week or the week before. John Stanley, the support is much appreciated. Once again, thank you so much. Asks if there has been a show on bags for game prep. I haven't done a show on that. I probably should. I'm probably due for a couple episodes of the Storage Solutions series, because I've done a couple of interesting things since then, including 3D print. I had a 3D print. I wanted to do a game on 3D printed solutions too, but the printer ain't working. So, and I'm not going to even get to repairing it until January. So once again, John, thanks for the support. Much appreciated. Poindexter Games has videos on Western Front Ace. There's been a bunch of videos on this too, and for Carrier Battles Philippine Sea. Russian Campaign Deluxe 5th Edition. I did get my Russian campaign in. That was one of my games that I had on my to-do list for 2023, and we made it happen. We didn't do it with this edition. If you really like Russian campaign and would like a copy of Russian campaign to play, I do think that this GMT edition is your best bet. The Compass Designer Signature Jedco edition, whatever it's called, is nice, but it's consciously kind of stripped down to that original Jedco version with just like a couple extra options in it. This has the GMT edition, on the other hand, this Deluxe 5th edition, has a crap ton of additional content, options, even a map overlay. There's just a lot in this box. So if you really like Russian campaign and you don't want to step up to Russia Besieged, then this is where I would point you, is to this edition of Russian campaign. Russia Besieged, on the other hand, is going to add like a whole bunch of additional chrome. So Weimar, The Fight for Democracy. This is from, I think it might be available from Capstone Games here. This like just came out or is just about to come out. It's what it sounds like. It is a game about the Weimar Republic and the collapse, or maybe not, in your game thereof. There's another game on a similar theme coming from GMT as well. This one, I really like the box. The board seems a bit spreadsheety to me, but I don't know. But the topic's interesting, so this is one that's kind of worth keeping an eye on, in my opinion. Skies Above Britain from Jerry White and Gina Willis. This is Solitaire. This is Solitaire, right? Yeah, this is Solitaire, Battle of Britain game. And some weird humming here going on. This game has been very well received as well. So I think that I will say the bags I buy, hold this down for a second. I am not normally the person so not a sponsor, not endorsing going to Walmart to buy your baggies for your Wargame counters, but they're the best place to go because you can get them in a variety of different sizes. These are the big ones. I've got these tiny ones that I assume the normal market for these is probably drug dealers. But I've used them for counters where I just have a couple counters to put in a baggie. And there's a bunch of different sizes. So and they're all very inexpensive. So go to Walmart. If you're going to use baggies, it's way more expensive to use like sandwich bags. Let me put it that way. And you don't have to use your mom's baggies anymore either. All right, Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson's Undaunted Battle of Britain. This is the first air game in the Undaunted series. It's very different from the other games, or at least somewhat different to me. I don't know. I haven't actually played this. So very interesting looking game, as usual, from David. And co-collaborators. So this is one, and Stalingrad, I think, came out this year too, for that matter. And because why not? David Thompson can certainly release as many games as he wants. Twilight Struggle: Red Sea Conflict in the Horn of Africa. This is the Jason Matthews designed sort of Twilight Struggle, smaller footprint in a shorter playing time thing. And this has been very well received as well. The next one, what's the next one called? I think it's a Southeast Asia deal, and it also looks fairly promising. That's with Jason and Carr and a co-designer who may be Jason Matthews on that. All right, Molotov Cocktail Games says Battles of the American Revolution is a fantastic system, streamlined and fun. It looks good. I haven't had the chance to play it yet. I've got the tri-pack, and I'll buy the second tri-pack just because it's good value, right? Because I'll get to it sooner or later. There you go. We've Eric, thank you for stopping by. I stopped talking about this like an hour and 20 minutes ago. Just because I don't know that I have any much more to say. Yes, those people are dirtbags. What can I say? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Maybe you can get stuff off Amazon that's comparatively cheap, but I didn't really see it. And I guess the last game, this is perfect timing here. Last game that I'm going to talk about is Mr. President. I did play a year of this and did some video on it. The first video did really, really well. The second video did less well. And by the time we got to the fourth or fifth video, nobody watched it. I do think this is solid. It's kind of a unique game. None of the individual mechanics are particularly unique about it. However, there really isn't. It is a monster solitaire game, and there's really not that, right? Nobody's really doing that. So it's got an interesting theme that hasn't been covered a lot in analog games, although it has been covered a little bit in video games. There's a video game series called Democracy that kind of does what Mr. President does. But then you go look at Democracy 4, which is the current one, and you'll look at the mechanics and you'll be like, wow, Mr. President is way more intense and involved a simulation than Democracy 4 is. So you do get a good narrative out of this. You do have a lot of decisions to make in this. I like that. I like all those things. I had a good time with it. There's a new edition, a second printing, second edition, whatever we're calling it, coming from GMT. I did sell my copy. So as part of the space clearing fundraiser, but that doesn't mean I won't buy it again. I'm not sure I will, because I'm not sure this is a game for me. I really kind of respected what this was doing. I liked the effect that it had. It's a bit sloppy, but it's also a huge game, and there's a lot of things to juggle and check before it gets printed. So I'm not going to really burn anybody's ass off over the relatively, it's not really a small amount of errata. There's a decent amount of errata, but there's also like a lot of stuff. And I didn't feel like mostly the errata was was a huge problem. Let me put it that way. All right, Nangwaya, thank you so much for the support. Found the channel a few years ago, started on a hell of a ride. He's got his own channel right now where he is the man covering Der Weltkrieg. All of my Der Weltkrieg games, except the Grand Campaign package, are clipped and organized by now, by the way. I've got to finish organizing the Ottoman front, but it's actually sitting right here next to me. It's all clipped. I just got to put it back in the tray now. So thank you for the support. It's much appreciated. Yes, the GMT tri-packs are a fabulous deal. So yeah, I mean, if you find the topic of Mr. President, or what the game is about, the theme, I suppose, compelling, then I recommend, and you don't mind playing at Solitaire, I highly recommend this. And you can completely co-op it. And there are people, I haven't, but there are people who are saying it's way more fun to co-op too, and I find that believable. So, and yes, everybody thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, blah 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 blah. So I have not received either the errata counters, nor Norman Conquest, nor a shipping notice therefrom. So, Mr. President, yes. The other funny typo in Mr. President was they accidentally spelled Israel as Egypt. So that was kind of a problem too. If they spelled Philippine wrong, I find it, as an American, this is not an excuse. I'm not saying it's okay. I find it pretty easy to accidentally leave an extra L out of the double L in something. Or put an extra L in where there isn't supposed to be one. I find it very easy to do that. I find it slightly harder to misspell Israel as Egypt. So maybe just me. Perfidious Albion, yes, they did fix this. They were able to automatically roll this off. So I think everybody that got stiffed on that was taken care of the following day. Alistair Logie, thank you so much. Best Wargaming live stream bar none. I don't know about that. I'm not sure what show you've mistaken me for, but happy holidays and best wishes for 2024. Same to you, Alistair, and thanks to everybody out here tonight. I'm a little I don't want to get choked up and be a weirdo or anything, but I'm a little overwhelmed by the amount of support that we've gotten here on the show tonight. It really is much appreciated. And I was hoping to not I don't want to ask people for money. I do a lot of hey, help support the channel, but that's not the same as asking for money directly, right? Because there's people that are in situations where they need to ask for money directly and they can't not. So I am not in that kind of situation, but every little bit does help, and this has been a tough year financially. So insofar as the channel can kind of support itself and hopefully support upgrades, the support is much appreciated. So Mo, you just got to get yourself up to 1% female like I am. So that's what's driving the revenue. So there you go. I saw some people said they got the refund the next day. So I agree, man. There's a lot of really good wargaming. There's a lot of good war games happening right now. I mean, where did I talk about this? This is golden age of wargaming, right? Golden age of wargaming part 2 anyway. We are in a really, really great time in wargaming. That's true in a lot of ways. And maybe none of this is new for 2023, but it's maybe something that became clearer to me in 2023 is that we've got a lot of great people in this community. We've got a lot of great games coming out in this community. Maybe it's the Platinum Age or the Iridium Age or some other bullshit. Hey, man, I'm under no illusions about people coming. That's why a lot of people listen to this as a podcast, buddy. That's all I got to say. This is fantastic. Hey, that's not zero. That's zero. That's not zero. I didn't notice that Hexy changed his name for a bit, to be honest. But no, we've got and we have kind of channels of communication open to us now that have not been available in the past, or at least not to the same extent. And I blame this in part on the pandemic. It's that people were not able to go to their regular stuff, so they had to learn how to play these games online, or how to talk to people on Facebook, or whatever social media thing you were on, right? So that has, I think, resulted in a lot more people watching YouTube videos about wargaming. I think there is no shortage of problematic bullshit on YouTube. Okay. And that will be true for absolutely everyone, regardless of how they define problematic bullshit. However, as assuming that you have some ability to tell the bullshit from the valuable stuff, there is just so much value in YouTube, man. I watch so much YouTube. I watch far more YouTube than I watch of like shows, even online. Um, Wargaming is benefiting from that, just like a lot of other things are benefiting from that. I mean, SPI is laying the foundation for this, right, with the surveys. But there's a selection bias inherent in the surveys too, in that the only surveys you get back are from people who sent in the surveys. How many people bought the magazine but didn't send in the survey? I guarantee they weren't getting 30,000 copies of that survey every month, because that's about what their circulation was. I might be pulling that number out of my ass, actually, but it was a large number, a large circulation number. There might be a reason for this, Mark, and might be because people will be less apt to harass you with the same dumb questions over and over and over again. And then you'll, because they have to actually write a letter and get a self-addressed stamped envelope and send it to you and then wait for a response. Now we have instant gratification, where people can just say, Mark Herman, why aren't you answering my question? And Mark can say in an incredibly patient tone, it's in the rule book on page such and such in paragraph 2. Here's your answer again. So, because I've seen that that exact conversation on the Pacific War BGG page. So we do have we got to be reasonable here, right? You can't get back to everybody instantaneously. I've learned how to fix stuff sometimes on YouTube. My lawnmower, unfortunately, wasn't one of them. There was not great support on YouTube for doing the belt change. There was like one video on it, and it was not that great. I ended up paying somebody to change that, to finish changing that belt. I disassemble it, no problem. Putting it back together was completely different. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. So always a good idea to RTFM, read the friggin' manual. William Aarons, thank you so much. Have I looked at GMT's 18th century prime minister? Looked at, yes. Pre-ordered, no. I believe that is on the pre-order docket for this month. It does look pretty interesting. This is another one that I'll probably pick up on sale later or at Origins for full price, because I do that because I'm an idiot. It's a game I'm interested in, and I just don't feel like I have room for it this time. So bear in mind, in addition to there being a bit of a money pinch in 2023, there's a space pinch too, right? I'm working on that, but at the moment I'm kind of out of space. See that space right there? That's the extra space. Okay. I'm only exaggerating by a wee bit here. So Mark, I will tell you, by the way, Mark Herman, that somebody was talking about the Conan game and was positive that it in fact had been released by SPI at the very end. Joe Perez says he's had Prime Minister for a few weeks. That sounds right to me. I was pretty sure it was out. And like I said, it looks interesting. I did buy and like very much, actually, Versailles 1919, for example. I think that's a real solid game. I love watching good playthroughs, but there is an art to doing good playthroughs, right? You've got to either structure it very rigorously, or you have to edit absolutely mercilessly. Yeah, this is kind of what I thought. Mark, if I ever go to your house, I want to see it. That's all I know. There's been some space over my left shoulder. My left shoulder? You mean that space? There's not much space, man. There's this space right here. That's where Oceans of Fire goes. And there's that space right there, which is what's going to go there is whatever I get next from SPI. So, I mean, there's things I can do, but I don't want games just piled up in a corner. All right, folks, we are out of time. So I am going to wrap this up. So, Mark, if I'm ever in the New York area, I will be delighted to do so. That would be an amazing experience, I am sure. So thank you. All right. So the support tonight has been absolutely incredible. And I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for all that support this evening. We do have a new sponsor, Noble Knight, so check that out. Affiliate link, all the other things to do to support the channel are down in the video description too. Patreon, all that stuff. We got a bunch of new patrons tonight. Thank you so much for that. It's gonna, there's a lot of things I want to do with the channel, and it's some of that's going to take some money, and I would like to be able to do some of that next year. And I wasn't really going to talk about that until the next show, which will be the first show of 2024. So we will talk about that a little bit on that show. But in the meantime, like I said, there might be another video or two this week. There should be a video or two next week. But the last live show will be Thursday's live show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with Dan and our very special guest, Mr. Mark Herman. So thanks, Mark, for agreeing to be on. We're going to talk to Mark. We're going to grill Mark mercilessly about this book he has written because it sounds amazing. And we are going to have a end of year send off, and then I am going to take next week off as much as possible. And I am going to I'm going to sleep till noon every day. I probably won't, but I'm going to tell myself I'm going to sleep till noon every day as I get up at 5:45. I'm going to tell myself, I could sleep till noon. No, I'm hungry. I got to eat breakfast. And we're going to have a relaxing end of year. And then we will be back in the evening at 8 p.m. on January 1st. Will be the next Counter Clipping show number 154. So I want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight. Don't forget to thumbs up the video and subscribe to the channel. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you all hopefully on Thursday. And if not on Thursday, we'll see you in 2 weeks.